Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. Unjustified age discrimination. That's the Supreme Court's ruling on our voting age after campaigners took their case for lowering it to 16 to our highest court.
The campaigners say it's now a no-brainer for Parliament to make the change, and the Prime Minister personally backs the calls.
But as political reporter Imogen Wells discovered, there are still significant roadblocks ahead.
Young Kiwi students have been taking to the streets over the last few years, making their voices heard on issues like climate change. And now our Supreme Court's ruled the lack of young Kiwi voices at the voting booth is discriminatory.
Absolutely over the moon.
Our highest court ruling our current voting age, 18, is inconsistent with the right to freedom from age discrimination. Campaigners say Parliament now has no choice but to listen.
If the Prime Minister claims to care about climate change, if the Prime Minister claims to care about issues such as child poverty, then she will lower the voting age.
Jacinda Ardern says she agrees with them.
I personally support a decrease in the voting age.
But it's not going to be as simple as having the Prime Minister on board. Following today's ruling, the government will now draft legislation proposing lowering the voting age to 16. But it would need a supermajority to pass into law. That means 75% of Parliament would need to vote in favour.
This is an issue best placed to Parliament for everyone to have their say.
Getting it across that threshold will be very difficult because National's not entertaining the idea.
18's just fine.
The Green Party's long backed the call to bring the voting age down.
The government should now take the initiative, now that it's not just a Green Party policy.
Christchurch voters Newshub spoke to are mostly on board.
I think of one of my children in particular who's probably more informed about voting than I am. Just thinking of myself when I was like 16 or 17, maybe another year is no harm. And you have the rest of your life then to vote sure after that.
Definitely something that should be looked at, yeah.
The group behind the drive to lower the voting age now see a window of opportunity to get it done before next year's election.
We deserve to have our say.
Whatever Parliament decides, this will not take effect for the next election. No one wants to run the accusation that you're making changes to electoral law to benefit any particular party or government.
So, sorry, young New Zealanders, Decision 2023 is definitely off the table.
Well, kia ora, Imogen. The Prime Minister says it won't happen in time for the next election. Tell us more about why that is.
Well, Ingrid, it comes down to optics and proper practice. As the Prime Minister said, making changes to electoral law this close to an election does open that door up to criticisms of trying to benefit your own party or government. So traditionally, when electoral reform is made, those changes are pushed then into the next general election cycle. So the election in 2026 would be the first opportunity 16-year-olds could have the vote. But of course, that all hinges on that legislation making and hitting that 75% supermajority, which at this point is looking super unlikely.
OK, thanks, Imogen.